have you heard about the Mickey Unwrapped album?
No.
I haven't told you about this.
What is it?
It's an absolute goldmine. It came out in 1990, I believe. Oh wait, there's an ad.
Mickey Unwrapped?
Yeah. So this is a Minnie Mouse song. What I'm about to show you.
Oh, okay, that Mickey, I was wondering.
It's good, yeah? It's a cover of Missy Elliott.
Yeah, okay. Wow! Where did you find this?
One finds things when they don't go looking for them.
I won't ask.
What does your bracelet say? Patricia?
Patricia?
Patricia.
This is Ratchet.
Maybe that should be your drag name.
Ratchet.
Patricia.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, it's a beautiful name. A beautiful name for a bouncing baby girl. So do you want to tell? Say what your name is.
Yeah. Let me introduce myself a little bit.
Yeah. Who are you?
So, I'm Doc. Emily and I have known each other for 5 years. You want to say?
Yeah, roughly.
And I've been telling her that we should make a podcast since I'm not gonna say day 1, but maybe day 3.
For a while. Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I am a white guy, so it is on my mind.
Yeah.
These things are important to us, and now that that's fulfilled, I can finally sleep easy.
Now you can move on with your life.
Yeah. Restful mind from here on out.
Exactly.
And yeah, we met at film school.
Mm-hmm.
We've been making movies for a while, and I think that I think you'll agree that our tastes in films are pretty different. But we can always come together to find a lot of stuff that we like.
Yes.
Both of us. So while it is different, the Venn diagram crossover is
thick.
It's significant.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry. I don't know. You want to tell more about you?
Yeah. So as Doc said, I'm called Emily. What else is there to know?
That my watch matches the sofa.
Oh yeah, Doc's watch matches my sofa. We met at film school. We met at a party properly.
Yeah. On
like a house party.
A fun party. We met on the roof.
Yeah.
As most friends
Very
do.
euphoria.
It was actually.
We were having our movie moment on the roof.
Looking back on it, because I definitely approached you and I was like, "Yo, so what kind of movies do you like?"
Yeah. No, it was really nice. I look back fondly on that interaction.
Yeah, it was a fun day.
It was a nice interaction. I guess that's enough about me. I'm just floating around. I'm currently unemployed.
But you're writing a lot.
But I'm writing a lot.
That's
I'm working on YouTube videos and my own things for now. Hence why we thought this was the perfect time to start a podcast, because we both kind of got things in our life a bit more settled, and now we were like, this is a good time for us. We have the time, so we thought, what better time than to get stuck into this.
Woo. And I hope you realize that by agreeing to this podcast, you've agreed to watch so many sports movies. I
did have that realization the other day. I was like, the movie that Doc has picked for his choice today.
It's literally called Bros.
Yeah.
It's a very bro-y movie.
I was like, this is going to be interesting to see the divergence in the films that we both choose.
Even today when we're finished talking about your movie, I'm like, this is very telling about each of us as people. I thought that tickled me.
So, we didn't say, but the theme of this episode is non-monogamy. So both Doc and I picked a film that revolved around that theme, or that we thought revolved around that theme. We both watched both of them, and
Cool. So the movie I brought was Bros. I had seen it once prior on an airplane, and I thought it was a perfect airplane movie.
Yes.
You're so good for that. It'll keep you distracted for an hour and 45 minutes, and then you can forget about it. Yeah. It's a rom-com. Released in 2022 or 3. I'll check it out right now. Directed by Nicholas Stoller, director of Bridesmaids.
Yes.
And produced by Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows him. Yeah. It's 2022.
2022?
I think, yeah.
Oh yeah, 2022.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess before I tell you about the movie, let me tell you about the making of. Because the idea originally was from Nicholas Stoller to make a gay rom-com, but he's straight.
Yeah.
Which is very cool, and he wasn't like, okay, I'm just gonna rock up and make a gay film. I need to work together with someone who's like
of the community.
who knows who's funny and who knows about these things. So that's when they formed a partnership, a little working relationship, Nicholas Stoller and Billy Eichner.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really any, as far as I know, any like casting process for him, because it was always a role written for him, which when you look at it, it's quite clear. Like he's playing himself.
Yeah, it really is.
Exaggerated, more comical, but it is himself. So they worked together to develop the script, and then they did a really big casting until they found Luke McFarlane, who plays Aaron. And it was a really long process to cast Luke McFarlane. And then Billy, once they were actually like getting close to shooting, Billy was like, there are just 2 scenes that I don't want to do on the first day. And that's a Pride scene, because there's a little scene where they go to Pride, but it was actually a much bigger thing. It was a huge thing. And they deleted it. It was a Pride fight. People were fighting each other. Because there were these 2 mean girls who were saying mean things about Bobby. So Aaron started a fight, and there was like a Pride fight, and it was everyone slapping each other, and they cut it out.
Really? Yeah. That's interesting.
I think looking at it, I was like, I can understand why. I feel like the studio said no.
Yeah.
But anyway, he said not that scene, and that scene was, you guessed it, day 1. That's the first thing they shot.
Okay.
And then he also said, and I don't want to shoot a sex scene. And if you remember, in the movie, in that same day after they go to Pride and that night, they have sex.
Yeah.
That was also day 1.
Interesting. Okay.
What's interesting is that Bobby was like, okay, fine, we'll do it this way, because shooting was delayed for over a year because of COVID. They were ready to shoot, and then restrictions.
Right. Okay.
So it's a COVID movie. It doesn't feel like it.
Honestly, to me, it kind of did.
It did?
Yeah, I think only because it felt like the marketing of it was handled in such a strange way.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and like when it actually came out, obviously it like really bombed, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But the combination of both of those things makes me think that like it was something that had been kind of gestating for a really long time.
That makes sense.
And then it was like just kind of released, and it was like, oh, like there was so much momentum behind it, and if it came out like a bit earlier, perhaps it would have had a different impact, or would have snatched people's attention in a different way. You know, when a project is delayed and it's such a big studio project like that, it kind of loses momentum if it's kind of stopped abruptly.
Yeah.
And it almost felt that a bit when the movie was released. It felt like it came out quite suddenly, and there wasn't much buzz or marketing around it.
Because I have to admit, I didn't watch it in the cinema. I watched it on the plane.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the cinemas either.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So the story of the movie, there's Bobby, who's this personality, guy. He really wants to be a personality. Like in his dreams, he wins the cis gay white man of the year. That's his dream. And he has this podcast. He writes books. He has a very 2020 career. Yeah. That's something that Billy Eichner said in the making of. And he's very closed off emotionally. And then he meets Aaron. Aaron at a club, and they have like an instant connection. And they start dating a little bit, but they're both people who are afraid of dating, and they're averse to dating. Yeah, absolute commitment folks. And they have sex before they get together, like officially, a couple of times, I think. And then they actually do start a relationship, and it's going really well, but like they don't want to enter the relationship for different issues. Bobby is like emotionally afraid to be vulnerable, and Aaron is afraid to be vulnerable sexually, and I get into what I mean about that later. But they go into it with like different views, so naturally at some point they kind of like don't click anymore, so they decide to go their separate ways. Also, Aaron kind of cheats on Bobby. He doesn't have sex, but he does kiss another guy when the situation is kind of a bit tense with Bobby.
Yeah.
Anyway, they spend some time apart, and by the end of the movie they realize that they really actually just want to be with each other. They meet at an event that Bobby is hosting, and he sings a gay cowboy song to Aaron, and then they kiss and they get together. Then how much time is it? 3 months, I think.
Yeah.
They're like, let's stay together for 3 months and then we'll reassess.
Evaluate. Yeah.
And then they do that and things are going well, and that's where the movie ends. So very interesting. A lot of people spend a lot of time talking and thinking about monogamy and what it means to be in a relationship, and why some people like feel the need to be in a relationship. Like, what does that mean? But at the end, they realize they are, because they say, "Oh, I'm not a relationship person." But at the end, they are very happy together. So they are relationship people. They just hadn't found the right person. I think that's the message intended.
Yeah.
We can talk about unintended messages later.
Yes.
But why don't we mosey on over to your film?
Okay. So my film is Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice, directed by Paul Mazursky.
It's all of them.
It's just a whole company of and it was directed in 1969, and the film follows this couple, Bob and Carole, and they go away for a weekend to this like therapeutic retreat, and it's called The Institute. And Bob is a documentary filmmaker, so he's going there to make a film about it, to make a documentary. But they go and they find themselves unexpectedly moved by what they learn at this retreat. And it's kind of this like new age thinking and philosophy, and it's all about like radical honesty and openness and being really truthful about how you feel.
And can I just say, the scene at the beginning is shot incredibly.
It's stunning.
It's almost psychedelic.
Yeah.
It's kind of realistic in terms of style. It's the whole movie presents very dry.
Yeah.
Very straightforward. But that opening scene is...
It's so dreamy and fluid, and like the camera's just like constantly panning across these landscapes and all these naked bodies.
And then the hands, when the title drops.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's stunning.
Absolute cinema.
And the music as well. It's great.
Anyway.
So yeah, Bob and Carole, they go away for this weekend and they find themselves really touched by what they've learned. And they come away as like new people. So they go there, they're really skeptical, they're kind of mocking and like making fun of what they're seeing at this institute. But then by the end, they're changed and they've taken on this new philosophy.
They cry, they laugh.
They cry and they let out all their emotions, and they like confront each other about issues in their relationship, and they come away a changed couple. So then the film really starts when they return home and they start telling their close friends, this other couple, Ted and Alice, about everything that they learned at the institute. Now, Ted and Alice, they're very different couple. They're very much traditionalists, and they are very not on board with what Bob and Carole have learned at this weekend.
They're very uptight.
They're very uptight. They're very judgmental about it, and they do not believe any of it at all. But
they also don't say that.
No.
They just look at each other like...
They just kind of mock it, and they're like, okay, you guys are being like a bit intense.
Yeah.
But at this point, they kind of don't really know how serious it is. They think it's just like a fad or whatever.
And as much as they can see, because it's just so striking while watching it. In that scene where they just share a mocking glance, Carole confronts them, and what they've seen so far from how their friends have changed is just that at that point, all that they know is that Carole is very confrontational. Not necessarily aggressive, but she's the one to call out like, you have to be honest, tell me about, why do you feel? She even does it to the waiter who has no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah.
So all they've seen at this point is that she's just like...
It's extreme.
It's extreme and very forward.
Yeah. So this is what they know of this new philosophy that they have, that it manifests in a very extreme, like very to the point, honest way, and they're just a bit like, shocked by the whole thing.
And it's also a lot of PDA.
Yeah, and they're very like affectionate with each other, like they've really changed. But the film it really takes a turning point where Bob, he cheats on Carole, and he tells Carole about it, and she reacts in a really surprising way where she sees it not as like a betrayal, but she sees it as a beautiful thing that he was honest about the affair and told her that he slept with somebody else.
At first it troubles her.
At first she's troubled by it, but then she takes this approach of radical honesty, and she's like,
you know what, babe?
I'm just glad that you told me.
Good for you.
And I'm happy for you.
And he has trouble with that response at first.
He has trouble processing her honesty and like acceptance of his mistake. And then what really causes the kind of rift in the film is Bob and Carole decide to tell their friends Ted and Alice about Bob's infidelity, and Ted and Alice are very, very disturbed by the fact that they're both so casual about it, and so happy about it and so accepting of this mistake. And then this
Alice
philosophy,
especially is
she's
distraught.
disgusted. And this like philosophy that Bob and Carole have slowly starts to infect Ted and Alice and like disturb their relationship and their entire outlook of looking at the world. And you have these like traditionalists and then these like new age thinkers, and it's about what happens when they clash, and it's about their differing approaches towards monogamy, marriage, relationships, structures in the home, all of these things. And that's basically Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice.
Wait, you didn't say what happens towards the end.
Oh, okay, so towards the end
they go on a trip,
and the both couples go away together to go see a
Tony Bennett
concert.
Tony Bennett of all things.
Of all things.
I was like, let's go. Come on, Tony.
So they're on their way, they're dressed up to the nines to see Tony Bennett. They're all in a hotel room. And when they're in this hotel room, Carole reveals that she's also had a bit of an affair. She's had a bit of a cheeky sexual encounter with this tennis player at the
and they're also a bit drunk.
And they're a bit drunk, and she's like, oh, let me tell you this thing. Yeah, she's had the same thing as Bob, where like she had an affair, and then she had the same encounter with her husband where she told him about it, and then he accepted it. And then they decide to tell their friends. And at first, Alice is accepting of it, but then suddenly Ted, her husband, bursts out from the corner of the room, I had an affair. And then...
And it's actually kind of funny. I'll get into
it is funny.
The movie made me laugh a lot, and that moment
is funny
especially...
because he just kind of suddenly admits that he's, made this mistake, and then Alice's response to the mistake is to say, well, why don't we all have an orgy?
And she says like everyone's assumed
she says like this is what we're all here for.
What else are we here for?
This is what we came here for. Like, let's just do it. Let's have an orgy. And suddenly everyone's like, whoa, Alice, like you've gone crazy. Like you've lost your mind, because Alice has always been the hyper traditionalist, like very much like marriage monogamy kind of girl.
Like a Sabrina Carpenter girly, if I've ever seen one.
Right. And then suddenly Alice is like, fuck it, let's just all like have sex. And at first, everyone in the group is really unsure about it. They're like, no, I view you as like a best friend, a sister, a brother type figure in my life. Like, I really love you platonically. But eventually they agree to do it. They all get into the bed, ready to have sex. And as soon as they start kissing, they all realize that they can't go through with it.
They don't want to.
And they don't want to do it. And the film ends with all of them kind of silently leaving the hotel room, exchanging kind of sad smiles, like knowing glances with each other in the elevator. And when they leave, there's this like very Fellini-esque dream sequence where suddenly they're on the street and they're hugging and embracing all the random strangers around them in the same way that Bob and Carole did at the Institute. And it's kind of a full circle moment back to this thinking that sparks the whole thing. It's almost like they're saying goodbye to it.
Yeah, it's like a mirror of the first scene.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but almost the first scene.
Pretty much.
And then the last scene. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, how is this going to end?
It's wild. And
yeah.
So some interesting facts about, I guess, the film and Paul Mazursky. So this was his debut feature.
Oh, wow.
Which is insane. And before this, he directed a couple of shorts, I believe. He'd had all his experience actually in front of the camera. He was an actor. He was in Stanley Kubrick's first feature film. And he basically wrote the screenplay because he read about this like therapist in the newspaper that ran the Institute. And he went there with his wife, and he had an experience at the Institute similar to Bob and Carole. So it's based off of somewhat of true experience. And then he wrote the film. And yeah, it was like a commercial success. It's very symbolic just of the kind of sexual revolution that was taking over Hollywood, the beginning of the 70s, bringing in this like new age kind of way of thinking. And yeah, that's a bit about Paul Mazursky. So let's get into the nitty gritty. So
with these two films, I
guess first of all,
oh, sorry. Actually, before we do that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I keep running out of breath because I forget to breathe in.
Oh, no.
I talk, and then I'm like, fudge, I'm running out of air. And
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die on the pod. So both films, they both look at non-monogamy in quite a different light.
Yeah.
Do you want to just, as a kind of blanket introduction, tell me your initial thoughts on this subject and how it presents in both films?
On this duo.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Bros, it's not really that central of a subject. They do talk about it. It's the reason they break up, because like Bobby wants like a different sex life, right? But it's not really that central. But I chose it for this topic because I think it takes a look at monogamy that's kind of from the side, and it makes me ask like, why does monogamy exist? Like, why is that something that we value? And I think what Bros does talk a lot about. I'm very happy that it's a gay rom-com because it's kind of like the central conflict of the movie is the fear of vulnerability, which is something very stereotypically associated to men. So I'm not to say that this rom-com wouldn't work in a straight couple, but I think it works on many levels because they're both men. So Bobby is afraid of being emotionally vulnerable because he, prides himself on being his own man, his own personality, like it's his world. And Bobby, like when you get into a monogamous relationship, you kind of give away a lot of your control over your sex life. Because if you say like, honey, let's get it on, and she says, no sir, then you can't. It doesn't, like, and actually that happens in Bob.
Yeah.
At one moment, one of them is going to Ted wants to have sex with Alice, and she's straight up asked, do you want me to do something that I don't want to do?
Wishes, yeah.
And he says no, because that's part of the trade-off with monogamy. You say, okay, your wants and needs are just as important as mine, so no, we won't have sex. And that's something that Aaron is afraid of giving up, being vulnerable that way, because that's how they kind of get their gratification socially. Bobby gets his gratification from having people pay attention to him, listen to him, read about him. He's like a talker. He talks a lot.
Yeah.
And Aaron gets his gratification by being looked at, by being appreciated physically.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like the fear of giving up a part of yourself when two worlds collide.
Yeah.
Also, I brought something.
Oh. You brought something?
Close your eyes.
Closing.
Alright, are you ready?
Yeah.
Boom.
Oh.
Come on.
Wow, that's nice actually.
Come on, merch.
I like it. Yeah, that's cute.
I saw it on eBay and I was like,
So,
you're going with
that
me.
was the only hat that was made. That was the only budget that they had in the marketing, and you have it.
They made a single one, and it's right here.
They knew the movie was going to flop, so they're like, oh, I'll just make one hat.
I'll make this single hat. Yeah, this movie flopped. I guess we can talk about
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Because Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice, I don't know how it did at the box office.
It was very successful.
Oh yeah, you mentioned.
So the budget, it was shot for $2 million, and it earned, I want to say, $30 million at the box office. And
my God.
Yeah, so it was a hugely popular movie, both critically and commercially. And what I think that's really interesting about this is that you have a movie like Bob and Carole that was shot in 1969. It's quite radical in its ideas. Like, the sex comedies of the 60s had a very, like, quite childish approach to sex. It was, like, quite crude humour, and it was something that, like, people weren't used to seeing on screens. It was still very, like, oh my God, like, taboo, they're talking about sex or talking around sex. But Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice is very, like, it's smart, and it's, like, quite philosophical.
You don't actually see almost
you don't
any
see
sex.
the deed itself, but it's like they're talking about
they talk about
sex
all
for the
time.
whole movie pretty
This
much.
movie could be a theater piece.
Yeah.
It's just people walking into rooms and
100%.
talking.
Yeah, it's very much
Bro,
like...
I asked you to show me an interesting movie and you were like, let me tell you about these people going into a room and talking to each
yeah.
other.
But it could be a stage play. It's like a kind of hangout movie / sex comedy / kind of like play.
You could whittle it down to
adaptation.
like 3-4 locations.
Yeah, it's all just people talking in bedrooms and living rooms and intimate spaces.
In the last scene, when the orgy maybe is going to start, that's when you see most action. But it's just people kissing.
It's just kissing.
And in the Institute, you don't see any sex.
No. You see lots of naked bodies.
A lot of naked bodies, but no sex.
So
but
it's
anyway, you were talking about how well received.
Yeah, it's interesting that it had fairly, for its time, like quite radical ideas. It was like right at the turn of like going into the 70s, and like obviously this became part of like a wider kind of like cultural movement and like revolution in people thinking and attitudes towards sex and women's liberation and all these other things. And this was very popular among its audiences. But then you look at something like Bros, and it doesn't differ too hugely in its ideas, apart from the fact that it centers around gay men, and it absolutely bombed. It completely tanked. And
I can see why though. Before we tell you just what you were saying on before, Bob and Carole and Alice is rated X. Can you believe?
That's wild.
It's rated X.
Wow.
It's not rated R.
No.
They said, watch it and you die. Watch it and you're dead. Maybe that was part of the reason why it was so successful. People wanted to see what was up.
They thought it was gonna be this very like sexy,
really like exploitative,
crazy,
you know, like, wild thing.
Crazy movie.
It's really not.
It's really not at all.
But yeah, we're talking about Bros bombing, and as much as I'd like for this film to be successful, I think it made a lot of jokes like about the gay world, and like near the beginning when people are still. I have a friend who says that he will watch 10% of a movie before deciding if he's going to watch the rest. Not necessarily 10 minutes, but 10% of what the movie is presenting, and that's what he makes his mind on if he's going to finish or not. Mm-hmm. And very early on, within that 10%, there is a scene where it's like the comedy is like Grindr, and it's how guys talk to each other there. And we know it's funny, we know the joke, we know the irony that it's these two adults, two people talking to each other like ass, show hole.
Yeah.
And kind of like the irony and nonsense.
Doing that with a stranger.
Like how crazy it is that we do that. And we know that we get the joke, but someone who doesn't know that that's how Grindr operates, someone who has no real connection with the gay world, might just be like, oh, that's how they do it. They don't find that funny, you know. And I think the movie has a lot of instances of these. Some things which are kind of doing a nod towards gay culture. I mean, they go to P-Town, which Provincetown already that enough is like a signpost for the community. But the ledger, the host, where they stay, is, oh my god, that theater guy, Harvey Firestein. Yeah. So like that is like, and Grace from Will and Grace, she's there.
She's in it.
Yeah. So it's like very much like a gay jokes, the movie. I mean, when you started watching it, you texted me. You said it's so jokes.
It's so, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
And it is like it's very much, and it's funny to anyone that's like aware of that kind of.
Yeah, but for someone who maybe like isn't necessarily like aggressively or outwardly homophobic, but doesn't know any of these things, the movie doesn't land as much.
That's what I was thinking. Like, for example, I was imagining like what would it be like if my mum watched this, and like my mum isn't homophobic or anything, but I just think she doesn't know enough about this culture that I think most of it would go completely over her head, and she wouldn't find it funny. And I think in some ways that's where Bros went wrong, is because I don't know, to people that don't know the ins and outs of it, they might think it's like trying to be educational and like teach people about what this world is like.
Which is why the pride fight was cut out.
Yeah.
So like I get it, but I don't necessarily see it as Bros went wrong. I just see it as like the ambitions were misplaced. I don't think the movie should be any different. I like all the gay jokes.
I found it really funny.
I like all the Grindr jokes. Like I get it, and I like it for what it is, but it's not mass market appeal. No. And that's fine. But it's the truth.
Yeah, it's.
But I'm quite happy that they made it, and because like you know we have like these gay media like Heartstopper and whatever, and I have a lot of friends who can't watch that because that's the adolescence that they wish they had, but was like so far from being remotely their experience. So it hurts, you know, it hurts to see these teenagers live the painless adolescence that you dreamed of. So while it's great that that's not the case anymore, and it's great that Gen Z are all non-binary, again blue-haired, but for like a different type of gay who it hurts to aspire to have lived that youth, it's good that this movie kind of like talks to them.
It bridges that gap a bit.
Yeah, it
definitely.
Like it reflects that reality. So like already we're kind of like singling out the niche demographic that this movie is really the most effective with. So yeah, I understand why it bombed. I wish it were different. I wish everyone had got seen it, but I understand.
Yeah.
I understand why not.
Yeah.
And also homophobia. It's true. It's true.
It's the sad, elephant in the room.
On the subject of sexuality, though, I find it very interesting that people, maybe not scholars, but people at a party, people at the pub, people at the club, where else do people talk? People at the bus.
The pool, the sauna.
People at the sauna. When you ask them, like, what's the point of monogamy? Many people will point out to it being good for the kids. It's the most stable format, socially speaking, where you can provide what a kid needs to be fulfilled. The care that they need, the attention that they need. People often say that's the point of monogamy. And I find it very interesting that in Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice, the kids are not really part of the equation. Both couples have kids, but they are never central.
Yeah.
They never talk about it. And they also never make themselves characters, you know?
Yeah.
They're just running around in the background.
They're like props.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're like props. And they say, oh, I love my kid. He's the best kid. But we never actually see them.
Well, that's,
interact.
it's interesting because both couples in the film, they're both like upwardly mobile, they're very wealthy people.
And also they're complete fashion icons.
Oh my god, the costumes are
so
good.
Are insane.
Everything that Natalie Woods wears, I'm just like, oh my god.
The styling
is beautiful. But they're both very wealthy couples, and in many ways, kids are just an accessory to that kind of life for a lot of people. It's traditionally, at least, it's like, okay, you get the partner, you get the house, and you have the kids. And it doesn't really matter what you do with the kid as long as it exists. And you can have someone else to look after the child. But like,
because they do. Oh my gosh, sorry, go ahead. I have something to say that's completely. And I was like, because you said taking care of the kids, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is one scene where there's a nanny. Yeah. There's two scenes where there's a nanny.
Yeah.
And this movie is kind of racist towards Mexicans, I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
They go to a drive-through. Because at one point, Carole is wanting a drink and they don't have anything, so they go to like a McDonald's. And it's called El Taco, and it's got this like racist Mexican like thing on the voice where you speak for the drive-thru.
Yeah.
There's that, and then Carole has help in the house, and she's Mexican.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. There's a bit of class and race kind of commentary going on.
A bit of a divide.
And maybe you're right, she's the one who's kind of maybe really raising.
Yeah.
At least.
Definitely. I mean, that's the impression that you get. But like, the whole structure of the movie is kind of based around this idea of like, at this time in America, it was only wealthy people that were afforded the freedom to think in this way. You know, it was only the upwardly mobile who had the house, who had the money, who had the stability, who could afford to experiment and kind of like dabble in this new age thinking. So like,
for example, this retreat in the first place.
Go to this retreat. Like, you're not going to see working class people going to the institute and like indulging in the expansion of their minds and like self-actualization, because that's just not something that's accessible. But the thing that makes it believable is that you still see it today. It's like therapy is very much a thing that like very privileged people will devote their time to. And for Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice, it's just the next step in the stage of their like wealth, I guess. You know, it's like, okay, we've got the material
and life. You have enough money to not only live a very swanky life with a cool house and go on trips, but also the kids are not this real financial burden.
Yeah.
You can just live your life and the kids are fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, they can go away on trips and do all these fun things, and they're never worried about the children and like
The one line of concern that they have is don't run around the pool.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop running around. Why?
Yeah, but really it is just like it's an accessory to the particular life that they've been expected to have.
So I find it interesting that if monogamy is for the kids, this movie says no. This movie says kids have nothing to do.
No, this movie says monogamy is a form of expression that's only exclusive to people of this kind of like economic bracket.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something
it's more
that they
social
yeah.
than it is nature.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's like something that the kind of modern, liberated, like wealthy person can afford to experiment with, basically.
So something I want to talk about that both of these movies really talk about. What should we go first? Should we go for affairs? What do you think about that?
Let's go with affairs.
Because in Bros, they try being open. Aaron goes into the relationship like specifically wanting it to be an open relationship, and Bobby gives it a go, and he says that he didn't quite like it. He asks Aaron if they can go back to being if they can stay monogamous rather, and Aaron agrees, but then when they have a fight he goes and has an affair, which Bobby feels very betrayed by, and that's kind of the reason why they break up for the third act.
Yeah.
Bros is kind of like very much trying to emulate other successes of the past, and that's why there's this big like breakup when they happen. Because I was looking at the extras of the Blu-ray, and one of the things that they talk about making a rom-com, and one of the things that they say has to happen is like a big climactic kiss towards the end to be like, oh, the love has like manifested, you know. But by that point of the movie they've already had sex several times, so how do you make a kiss special when the characters have done way more that and way more in the past? And it's like, yeah, you split them up.
Yeah, and you make it's more not focused on the kiss but saying I love you.
Yeah.
Because again, the emotional vulnerability being a barrier to both of them, it's like, what's the ultimate expression of love? It's not going to be some big kiss in the rain, you know. It's not going to be like a declaration at the airport.
Yeah.
It's going to be them saying,
it's going to be
I
them
love
being
you.
honest.
Yeah, and being honest about their feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess on that note, that is the whole thing of the institution.
Yes.
Honesty.
Okay, so I have a couple of scenes in particular that I really want to talk to you about.
Is one of them the scene where they go through all the exercises? At the institute?
That's one of them, yeah.
Because I really want to talk about
Okay, let's talk about that one first.
Yeah. So let's describe the scene briefly for anyone who hasn't seen it.
So
Do you do it? Yeah.
No, you can do it.
It's a scene where you see them go into this like room. We should make a podcast about movies where people are stuck in a room. That'd be interesting.
Make another podcast.
Yeah, we should make another podcast specifically
it's called Stuck in a
for
Room.
people stuck in a room.
Yeah.
Relatable content.
Yeah.
So they get stuck in this room, all these strangers, all these couples.
Yeah.
Are they all couples?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And they do several exercises. The first of which is they have to go around the room looking at each other. Is that the first one? Well, they say who they are and what they're there for.
And they have to really look at each other, like stare into the eyes of a stranger that you've
Wordless.
never spoken to, completely silent. Yeah.
And they just look into each other's eyes. And the camera does this thing where it takes a perspective of some of them. So sometimes you have this character just looking at you like...
Yeah.
And it's quite arresting. They also put some cushions on the ground and start wailing on them.
Yes, they do.
And screaming.
Not
even screaming insults. Then... one of them gets scared and starts crying, and everyone comforts them, but I noticed that they weren't really saying anything. They were just touching each other and like embracing each other, and then kind of like it kind of lands a bit more, it kind of takes shape a bit more when it focuses specifically on our characters and what they say that they felt through the marriage. But weirdly, this whole scene reminded me of when people do mushrooms together.
It is very psychedelic, kind of.
Because you go into this room and you do this thing where honestly you're there to make a little bit of a fool out of yourself. You go in and you take these things which you know are going to make you see things that aren't there, to feel things in a way that's different from normal. So it's all of this, but you're there with someone. So when you've kind of let your guard down and be honest with another person in the room, suddenly it's like you hold leverage not over them but on the same level, because like you saw me do a silly thing and I saw you do a silly thing. So if we're both wailing on a cushion and acting like idiots, when we talk later, we've broken the ice.
Yeah, it's definitely like you're exposing yourself, and it's all like icebreakers to make people feel more comfortable with being vulnerable and kind of exposing themselves.
And it works.
And it works.
And I think part of the reason why it doesn't work later, specifically at least right away with Ted and Alice, is that they don't go through all of this process of breaking down the ego.
Yeah.
Carole goes, both of them go straight into, what did you mean by that? What did you say by that? When in society we wear masks, so there is a certain leverage. Carole is making a fool of herself, asking the waiter what he feels about the moment when he has his guard up, so he has won over her.
Yes, they've not been broken down.
There's like that friction of like awkwardness of social convention. The waiter is like, you're being a fool right now, like what's going on? And that's, I feel like, something that Carole and Bob took for granted from their experience, because they just sailed that way into the world. It's insane watching them.
It is interesting though, because we don't know what Bob and Carole were like before they went to this retreat. All we know is when they go into it, they're kind of making fun of it. They're very judgmental of it. So they are in many ways similar to how Ted and Alice are after they've come out of the retreat. So I don't know, it's interesting to think, would Ted and Alice be the same if they went to the Institute? Were Bob and Carole as similarly like repressed as they were and traditional? How radical was this change? Or, it seems like it was quite radical from how Ted and Alice react to their differences when they first meet up afterwards. Yeah, they think like you've been brainwashed. I want to talk more about...
Do you want to say anything more about the...
Okay, so the Institute,
the
Institute scene, there's one thing I want to note about that I think is really interesting. So during one of the exercises that they do between Bob and Carole, and it's the one at the very end where they're both breaking down, they're in tears and they're crying in each other's arms and they're being fully honest with each other about how they feel about the relationship. And Bob says, like, I wish like you'd open up to me more, like I feel like I'm always forcing you to open up and like you don't let me in. And she says, it's because I'm afraid of you. And then she says, I'm afraid of you.
Yikes.
And I thought that was really interesting, because for the rest of the film, she's kind of the one that initiates their entire approach towards non-monogamy, because he's obviously the one that cheats, but she's the one that reacts to it in a way that kind of opens up their relationship. She doesn't shut it down or say like never do that again or like get angry. She chooses to respond in a way where she sees it as like, quote, a beautiful thing, and because of that it opens up the relationship to not view cheating
and she even
as a bad thing.
Has an affair, but she says she says to Bob, I didn't have an affair because you had an affair. I had an affair because I wanted to.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders whether, I guess, this is one way of getting into it, but like up until this point, it seems like Carole and Alice have had very traditional roles in the home. Neither of them work. Like they're both kind of like stay-at-home mums, like kind of
trad wife,
housewives kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And this new wave of thinking almost adds a freedom to their lives that they've never had before, because particularly for Carole, if she's been afraid of her husband and like him definitely being this like quite dominant figure, he's powerful, he's a director, like he's always traveling and she's like home alone, this opens up her life in ways that she's never experienced before, because she's almost given an excuse to be able to like have this like sexual freedom that she wouldn't have had if she's been confined to the home and to like being like a caregiver and like a kind of housewife and like I guess another prop, another accessory in the perfect life,
Yeah.
Which is really interesting in terms of Ted and Alice, right? because the scene that I want to talk about is their conversation, which is so like, to me it's my favourite scene of the whole film. It's the scene after Alice finds out about Bob's affair, and she says that she feels physically sick.
Yeah.
She says, she said the last time I felt this was when my mother died.
That's
which
wild.
Is a wild statement
That's
to
crazy,
make.
girl.
But to her, it's like, Bob cheating is the death of her entire belief system. It's the death of the values that she holds closest to her. Yeah. It's the death of the idea of marriage is one man, one woman being committed to each other, to monogamy. It's everything. It's like, it's to her, it is like a demise of like something that she really cares about. And the following scene is her and Ted talking about this in bed. And what differs between the two of them is that Ted is less angry at Bob cheating, but more angry that he told Carole.
Yeah, he says
he kind of thinks
none of this would happen. You wouldn't even be upset right now if he hadn't told her. And she's like, well, no, the issue is the fact that he cheated. And he's like, yeah, sure, the cheating is bad, but it's more like he would have gotten away with it if he hadn't said anything. Cheating is bad, but that's not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is telling.
He told her, yeah. And then from this point, it's really interesting because Ted is like really horny in the scene, and he gets a headache because he's so horny.
Yeah.
And he's like,
too hard.
oh god, I just gotta have sex right now.
We've all been there.
Right, it's just like, but what's interesting is that Ted seems to be aroused by Bob's mistake, by what Bob has done, and by the fact that Bob has gotten away with it. Like, that's what he's aroused by. He's aroused by like this sexual possibility that Bob now has in his life, and the fact that he's free to go and sleep with whoever he wants. And then Alice is like so disgusted by it to the point that she, from this point in the film, is like unable to have sex. She like closes in, she sexually becomes really repressed, and she's like unable to sleep with her husband because she feels so disgusted by this idea that marriage has been like tainted and like...
Yeah. But her sex drive is still there because I think she envies Bob, and then later Carole's freedom because she has a
Freudian slip.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So Alice has a Freudian slip where she goes to therapy because she's not having sex with her husband anymore. And she
like
starts...
very like psychoanalytical therapy where they're just like, what do you think about this?
Yeah, he's very much like and how does that make you feel type therapist.
Yeah.
And she's basically like describing a situation to the therapist of like the last time her and her husband were about to have sex, and she describes how her son walked into the room when they were about to have sex. And
she was topless.
Both her and her husband were naked. And when she's describing this interaction, this sexual encounter, she accidentally refers to her husband, Ted, by Bob's name. And afterwards, she immediately realizes her mistake. But it's very interesting that, like, in both Ted and Alice, Bob's affair has sparked a different reaction
because
to
it's not even that
their
from
sexual
that moment
desire.
on, she starts desiring Ted. No, Bob. The names are so similar. Bro.
I know, it's like...
Yeah, but it's not from that makes her realize, oh, I actually like this man. It's like more she realizes, like, I actually do want to have sex.
She realizes she's being awakened to her own desire.
Yeah.
And Alice always comes across as quite uptight, quite type A, quite like a rigid type person. Yeah. And this like Freudian slip during the therapy session.
On her hair.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
That wig is heavy. I felt for her.
She's sweating her hair and her
she's
whole body.
Dragging it around. But it is funny that like Bob's affair awakens the sex drive of both Ted and Alice, but they just react to it in a different way.
Very different.
Alice is disgusted by her own sexual desire, and I think she's projecting disgust on how she feels about Bob's affair when really she's turned on by the idea of having sex and sleeping with another person and this excitement, you know. Whereas Ted is like pretending to play it off as like, oh, I'm so like can't believe my friend did that, but secretly it's like, I'm so aroused.
That's actually
and I'm gonna try and come on to my wife because I'm really like riled up by the thought of what's happened, you know.
I find it very interesting, and I'm very glad that we made this podcast because there's like I could talk to you forever about these things because honestly like what I'm about to open is for me like the most rich content out of all of it, but it'll be kind of my closing statement a little bit, is that what the movies are, what's ultimately their message, you know? Because I think for bros, there's like the grander message in all of it maybe what got lost in the sauce a little bit is when Bobby says that love is not love. You know, homosexual love is just not the same as heterosexual. And lesbian love is not the same as two gay men. Asexual love, pansexual love, it doesn't look the same. Love is not love. So in the end, when they do get together, they don't say, I love you, spend the rest of your life with me. They say, I love you, and we can take it for a little while.
Spend the next 3 months together.
And then we'll reassess. And, you know, they take it a little bit at a time. And I think, I do think that towards the end of the movie and beyond, I would imagine them to do enter some sort of open relationship at some point. Just because from what I gather about the ending is that they agree to make this relationship of theirs something dynamic.
Yeah,
they're
it's
like,
flexible.
Let's just take it a bit at a time
and
do what works for us. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the writers' minds in the future they do go open, and then maybe not, and then maybe yes, but you know, like that's not the point. The point is that they accept the relationship as something alive and dynamic. Which is, I think, very nice and a very healthy message.
Which
very,
is
very cute.
very healthy message, and it's very different to the ending of Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you interpret the ending.
Oh, I loved it.
Which I love the ending so much, but I interpret it as like this bubble that they've been living in is kind of bursting, and it's like the film is being bookended by the Institute, and it's ending with like a reflection of the exercises that they did at the Institute, but it's kind of tainted with this like bittersweet feeling, and it's almost as if they're like saying goodbye to it, you know, because they push this thinking so far, particularly Bob and Carole, you know, they sleep with other people and they're really happy about those decisions, and it helps their marriage.
They're like, I cheated. I love you
I
for
love
that.
you for it.
I
like,
love you for
thank
that,
you so
babe.
much for telling
Good
me
for
that.
you.
Yeah, like it's really
it's wild.
enhancing. Yeah, it's like a good thing for them. It helps them grow and like love each other more. But by the end, it's like, oh, they're kind of pushed to their limits, and it's almost like the pin is going in the bubble when they're like trying to be like, oh well, let's just transfer this platonic love that we feel with our friends into like something sexual, and let's just have a good time and have sex with our friends. And then they try and do it, and obviously it doesn't work, and it's this kind of like very bittersweet, quite sad, like kind of montage moment as they're walking into the elevator, and there's this like song playing, The World Needs Love, and it's them all kind of smiling sadly at each other, and it's almost like we tried but it didn't work out, and you kind of get the feeling like maybe this is the end of it for all of them. Like, I don't know. What did you make of it?
I actually did feel that, but then I took it one step further.
Yeah.
I felt the scene where they realized that they don't actually want to have sex with each other was like eye-opening for all of them, because for Carole and Bob, their sexual chemistry was like an essential part of the relationship, right? But, oh my god, the Lucasade, never again. But later when they have sex with, try to have sex with their friends, I think what they realize is what they're actually after with the other people is intimacy rather than sex, which is very often conflated.
Yeah.
And I mean, to the point that people say it's a PG way of saying sex is making love. Making love.
Yeah.
That's not sex.
You do not make love with everyone that you have sex with.
So it's like quite, you know, like, yeah. And they realize that's actually not what we're after. That's not what we want. And now they've made a fool of themselves in front of each other. They were like, my tongue was in your mouth just minutes ago.
Saw you naked.
How absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know, like that's cringe.
Yeah.
So they leave the room. They go to have a lovely gay time with Tony Bennett. But now they enter the world seeking intimacy rather than sex, which is how I interpret it.
That's
them
interesting.
Recreating the Institute scene by looking at strangers and
Intimacy.
Everyone looking at each other and like really seeking that like intimate understanding rather than intimate sharing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
and there was this line that Carole says that she's like, my therapist is right. I try to project my worldview into other people and then I judge them if they fail for it. And Carole and Bob these names, Carole and Bob, do that when they go to their friends and they're like, you should live this life. You should live your life this way. So they do that, and then they realize that's not how it works. So I think for me it was a very hopeful, uplifting ending because they go into the world seeking more understanding.
No, that is true, and I did feel hope from the ending, but it also has, to me, I did also feel that like bittersweet of like, it's like we tried and it didn't quite work out in the way that we wanted, but they're enriched by that experience because they are looking at the world in a different way, and especially for Alice as well, because she finds out that her husband cheated on her, and she was the character before where like that information would have absolutely shattered her, and she now knows this about him, but she's kind of like made peace with it because she knows that her thinking was limited, you know, and she knows
what she's looking for now.
Yeah.
And that's very sweet. That's very lovely. Yeah. I do love how you described it originally as this like Fellini dream sequence, because I'm like, very that.
He loved Fellini because we won't talk about this, but like his second film, it's basically like an entirely a homage to Fellini, and Fellini even makes an appearance in it.
That's crazy.
Fellini plays himself in his follow-up feature. Bro. It's so good. It's crazy. And like,
we should make a Fellini episode. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. We should.
There is. I thought of an analogy while I was describing these films to my partner. I was like, I think these movies are very different when it comes to taste level, and I don't want to be like good taste, bad taste. I want to be more so taste as in flavor, you know? If these movies were edible, what would they taste like? And for me, Bros tastes like one of those summer candy canes, you know? They're like white and yellow and green.
Yeah.
They're not shaped like a candy cane. They're just like a stick of sugar.
Yeah.
And you like suck on it, pun intended, right?
Yeah.
And it's very bad for your teeth if you like press sugar up to your teeth.
Yeah.
But it feels nice and it's like exciting. It's very up. It's very lively. You know. It's like it keeps moving. So it's very funny, jokey, waka. So it's one of those, right?
Yeah.
And then Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice is like a pretzel.
Oh.
It's like doughy in the sense that like there's a lot to like chew on.
Right.
You know, they talk a lot and you're like sitting there. You don't eat a pretzel, one of those big ones. You don't eat it in one go.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of like savor it. It's savory. You know, it's not salty. Well, it is salty, but it's like savory. It's salty and a little bit bitter.
I had a similar. I would think of Bob and Carole and Ted and Alice as a lemon tart, so the bitter vibe.
Yeah.
It's a bit sophisticated, but it's also sweet and tangy and a bit different.
Yeah.
And then Burroughs is candy floss. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So quite similar, actually.
Before we head off, though, there's one more thing I want to say, and that's because I said before how Ted and Aaron are very similar coded, and it's in a very small way. It's in a very like blink and you miss it kind of way. In the scene right before they all try to have sex together, everyone is just like hanging around drunk, and then they're like, okay, let's go to the bedroom, and they all go to the bedroom, except for Ted.
He's brushing
he
his
goes
teeth.
to the bathroom, he brushes his teeth, he puts cologne, he does his hair.
Yeah.
And in a way, I think that reflects as like a fear of vulnerability, of being seen for who you are. And Aaron is exactly the same, because there's a scene where Bobby opens the door to the bathroom and he's injecting testosterone. And at first Bobby is like disturbed by this, but then Aaron goes like, but you like my body and you like me in part.
He's like, so
for
you can
my
shut
body.
up.
So
Yeah,
you can shut
you
up
can
about
eat
it.
Yeah.
And he's like, damn, he's right.
Yeah.
But what I mean is like, he also doesn't want to be seen for who he is. Even especially during sex. He wants to put on the artifice, the illusion of masculinity. Which is fascinating.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But anyway.
I was going to say, that scene where Ted is in the bathroom is so interesting, especially because it cuts between the sound of him brushing his teeth to silence. And you just see slow motion of him, of Bob and Alice and Carole all like sleeping together, getting into the sexy mood.
Cozy.
There's even like a wind machine as well, because like Alice's hair is like, blowing all over the place.
But good movies, GG's, both of them.
Yeah.
Good movies.
Really great.
Go watch them.